I know I'm late, but it's here, and it's working, and it's complete. It's not finished, but it's complete. There's still some work to be done on like aesthetics and stuff like that, and making sure the bench clips on and stuff like that. But that's for another day. Right now, the sled is working, and I'm already behind schedule. I said everyone that December 25 was the deadline, and first thing we know, we're in January. So it seems to be working good from what I've tested so far. I decided I was going to show what I've done, since a few other YouTubers have already put up their snowmobile up. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna show you what we have done, and then me and Miko are going to have a look at what the other people have done and compare and give a rating on what we think about the machine and give maybe some place to improve. But yeah, let's talk about our machine first. So we decided on going for a 1/6 scale, which is roughly the same size as the Yamaha Viper from start. This is obviously going to be a long track compared to the Yamaha Viper as a base. I know my Yamaha Viper is now a long track, but this is really similar to that machine. It has a completely new track, completely new belt drive system compared to the Yamaha Viper, which had a gearbox system. This has a belt drive system, and it's a first for me to have a belt drive system that runs directly with snow contact. I don't know how this is going to work, and if it doesn't work, we could just put a guard around it so no more snow contact. But I like to try new stuff, and ever since the inception of that project, the goal was to have a machine that could have a direct snow contact with the motor so it could cool it as you drive. This is something we've done here with this machine. We wanted something really simple, no extravagant cooling system or solution, just a window in the tunnel that throws snow directly at the motor. Since this is a belt drive system, the motor is fixed, but you have a tensioner system that moves and puts some pressure on the belt, and that's something you can adjust from a hole that you don't see it here because this is still the prototype. But if you take the body panel off, you can easily adjust it. Something else we wanted to do for this machine was to keep it really, really simple. No extra stuff for decorations or stuff like that. Just keep it super simple, super durable. We're not done with the process, of course. These skis were from the RMK. They've just been installed here because it looks nice, and I can just shrink down the skis from these machines to a smaller size and make them fit for this. It's gonna work, of course. We wanted something really low center of gravity, so the motor is all the way down. You're gonna be able to see it once I take the body panels off. But the motor is really low to the ground. The batteries in the seat and front section, as for all the other RC snowmobiles I've made. You can go with a really, really small battery for this, and you have a lot of room to put all sorts of things inside of it because this is 1/6 scale after all. It's pretty big. I was personally in charge of making most of the frame sections, and Miko was in charge of making the body panels for this and the seat. We used two different software to make this machine, so these software were not compatible with one another. So I used 3D Builder to merge everything together once the machine was complete. So it's not a great solution, but it works, and it got us to where we needed to be. I don't have the full list of parts you need for this right now. I'm gonna have it ready at some point, but this doesn't take a lot. It only requires some sets of screws, two front shocks, which are pretty much, if I remember correctly, the same length as the rear one. So you can take two front shocks and two rear shocks. There's two rear shock, but no middle shock. There's only a limiter shock in the front, so it works a little something like that. One shock was just not quite sufficient enough to keep the load of the battery and all that stuff. The tensioning system is very simple. It's just one screw that pushes the shaft that holds both wheels together. The screw turns into the nut and it pushes the shaft in the back, something like that. It pushes it and it puts tension on where the wheels are. Very simple design, and it seems to work pretty well. We have two sets of windows really close together, but they're not in the same line as the skid, so it's not in the way. The anti-stab kit was not necessary, but it seems to work and it reduces the friction of the skid. The belt and pulley system on this is very simple. It's just a GT2 belt and pulleys. It's the same kind of thing you find in 3D printers nowadays. So the pinions, they're exactly the same pinions that you would find on the motor to move the entire print head around. You can play around with the gearing as well if that's something you're interested in. I've just put something quickly together and it seems to be working fine. Now, enough about the exterior, let's have a look at the interior. Here's what the inside looks like. The motor is installed permanent inside of it, so it's very simple to install. You just take everything off, slide the motor in, put 2 screws, and that's it. The motor is in place, no need for adjustment and stuff like that. This is the tensioning arm, so there's a screw here that you have access from the outside once the body panel is around. But you just tighten the screw more and it pushes on this lever here, which has 2 little tiny little bearings on it. So the more you push the arm, the more tension it pushes on the belt. It's a little difficult to explain. There's no hole yet here for the battery, so while I was testing it, I was just putting the battery inside. That's going to be changing at some point. The motor I'm using on this machine is very special because that's a 2-in-1 combo. It's a very fancy motor, but it has everything together. So since the motor is snow cooled in a machine like that, it's a really good idea to have the 2 inside, so the snow cools the motor and the speed controller at the same time. The only downside is that the pulleys, they are 5mm shaft, and the output shaft on this is a 1/8, so you need a little adapter for this. Most hobby shops sell this, so it's not too much of a problem. The only downside I've found with that motor is since it's a crawler style motor, as soon as you let out the throttle, it wants to brake really aggressively. You could do a wheelie and just let up the throttle and it's going to do a front flip because there's just too much restriction in that motor. It's not really optimized for something like this. If it had no braking, that would be perfect, but that's not something that could be adjusted in software for this. It's a bit sad. I would still recommend using a standard size motor, but for simplicity's sake for this, that's what I've used. It's just asking for a bit of getting used to with throttle. There's not really a lot to talk about this. It's really simple. That's what we try to do, just keep it as simple as possible and just plug in, it works. That's as simple as this. So I decided to ask Mikko if he could do sort of an interview with me and discuss about his thought process on making his parts, and at the same time maybe discuss what the other guys did, as you know, give our opinion on something like that. So without further ado, let's move on to that part.
So I'm going to go first, and if you have something to tell me, you just cut me and say something, all right?
Yeah.
And by the way, I should probably introduce you. So Mikko and I have been working together on the alpha for our side, and just introduce yourself maybe. I know you're Mikko, but I'm not going to try to pronounce your last name.
Yeah, I'm Mikko Karjalainen, and I have made these slates for about 10 years now, more, and I currently have 10-ish projects, of which 2 are running and the rest are just on shelf in pieces. So yeah, back to you.
Yeah, I mean, he doesn't make too many videos talking about them, but I know he has a lot of projects ongoing. We share videos every once in a while, so he knows a lot about Archie Snowmobiles as well. He might not have as much of a successful channel as I do. Not bragging or anything, but I mean, it's just truth. So
That's the truth. Yeah.
So I initially talked to Mikko saying, "Oh, we should probably do a project together. It could be fun, and could be a challenge as well." It was more to try to get all the good idea in one bag. So that's why we sort of did the alpha project. I talked already about our machine a little bit. So is there something you'd like to say about your designing process? Because I did mostly the frame and you did mostly the body panels. So is there something you'd like to talk about? Or
Well, there's not much to talk about. The actual beginning of the hood was really fast. Yeah, it was like 2 or 3 days that I actually drew it, more like in one day. It took less, about 24 hours in total, but finishing it took around 3 months. So yeah, might have, might
Yeah.
have been kind of lazy regarding that, and everything regarding to fixing into the frame and so on.
Yeah. I mean, one of the difficult part for me was to like I made most of the frame to be all compatible so it could be easy to work on. But Miko was working with a different software, so usually software they're not always compatible. So we used 3D Builder to merge everything together, and in the end, I think it works pretty good. But it's still it's not a great solution, but it works.
Yeah, I
Um,
think I think that's also the biggest problem we had, that we had no cross compatible software, and yeah, the builder was powerful, but it was really janky and really rough on the edges.
yeah, it
And you
tends
could,
to add a bit of errors and problems in the files every once in a while. So
yeah,
we try to keep it simple. Most of the part they're just mirrors of the other side, so it saved a bit of time and it prevented having too many problems. Or at least on my part, that's mostly what I've been done.
yeah. I actually have no memory. How did I make the hood? It might have also been that I mirrored it complete when I was complete. So that saved
Yeah,
that saved a lot of time, but also it some some details might have been lost in the mirror
I mean
process.
it's okay. I mean, it is a scaled model, but in the end, it's more of a. It was more made to be a simple machine to be easily uh, printed and not too many details. To keep it simple and not to have too many little things moving around.
Yeah, yeah,
It
I
is
think
very
so too.
durable, though. I can say.
I wish so. I wish so too. I think my models have been like made from glass. One ride and break things and back to the shop.
Yeah. All right. So enough about our model. Let's talk about RC Homemade Hobbies. He has made a few attempts already. He has a lot of RC snowmobiles on his channels. So if you haven't have a look, you should probably have a look.
Yeah,
I'm
I
not gonna
actually
go
have.
through.
Yeah,
Yeah, go ahead.
yeah, I actually have seen some of his clips. He produces a lot of material and a lot of good material also. I think I like his material a lot.
He seems to have a lot of good ideas every once in a while to share. And sometimes I just watch this video and I'm like, oh, that's a really good idea. Maybe there's something I can learn from that. So
Yeah,
I'm not going to go through the entire video because I want you to have a look at his video because he has a lot of good content. So, but I'm
yeah,
just going to go through the main line I wanted to talk about, which was the monorail design, the track, and maybe transmission and steering quickly. Uh, he has a lot of good things showing up. So let's just talk about these couple things. So I would like to know, Miko, your opinion on this kid right here on the screen. So is there something you can say right on top of your head about that?
no, I think that looks super simplistic, and the track design looks simple and working. I think he's got the basic design what has been used like in every printed sled design, that hexagonal drive, and yeah.
There's something really interesting I found about the design, and it's that he used some square windows instead of having like through the part holes. He just used some windows
Oh
to have the
yeah,
drivers go through. Let me see if I can have a better picture of
yeah.
this.
I see what you mean. There's
There we
no
go.
one link that goes through the track link. There's two smaller pins
Yeah,
instead.
two smaller hinges.
Yeah,
It might be a little bit weaker depending on how much power he has. There, it could be something more than sufficient for the power. And since the Alpha, the wheels are really close together at the rear. You need to have holes within the track. You cannot have the same thing that I've done on the RMK before.
yeah. And
So I think it's a clever design, and I hope that it lasts as long as he has planned, probably.
yeah, same. And the alpha skid also brings that problem that you have to do drive sprockets in the rear of the skid. They can't be on the edge of the track, otherwise it will require spacers in the back, and that will bring some problems
Yeah,
by
exactly.
time.
You'll have to have the wheels extended from the skid, so it's going to be maybe a pivot point that could be a weak spot. So
Yeah,
here's another thing about the track that I really like is that he didn't just make a flat paddle. He made a chamfer, not a chamfer, but a fillet through them, so it could be thicker at the base, so it has a more
yeah,
it is a stronger track overall. So that's something I really like about his design.
yeah,
For durability about the skid, I would probably add a limiter strap here in the front because it's going to prevent having too much of an angle going down here. It might be a problem. It might not be a problem. It might be something he wanted if you want to do a lot of wheelies, but
yeah.
it's like people taking their limiter straps off their real snowmobile. It's not the best idea.
Yeah.
Quickly on the transmission and steering. Steering seems to be very simple. It seems to be just a wire. It could be interesting to have some real tie rod ends, but apart from that, I mean, if it lasts, it's good. The transmission is interesting to me. I haven't seen anything like that before, so obviously it's his own design. I'm curious to see what he has done because he doesn't appear to have a big spear gear, so I'm not quite sure what gearing he's using inside of this. So that would mean he has a double stage or a triple stage gear down, but nothing too big inside. So I'm not quite sure what gearing he's using inside of this, but it'd be curious to see what he has inside of this. Is what I'm saying.
That's simple, and it still looks like it's gonna work for brushed system, but in my experience, for a brushless system, that's gonna strip out.
You mean
That
printed
remains
gears with a brushless setup?
Printed gears on brushless setup tend to strip pretty quickly. But hey, we'll see. Might also work for him. We don't
Right.
exactly know what's inside that, so it might also be that he's perfected it and it works like a charm.
All right. He has done an updated video on that, so let's see what he has done next. I'm not sure if this is the same snowmobile or not. Does it look very similar to you? Or
Seems like.
he obviously made his own body panel.
Yeah, that's nice. He nailed it much better than I did. I think he made great work on that.
So I mean, he has a lot of videos, and I have not watched every single one of them. So what would you give him for a score for overall from what we've seen so far? Considering it's probably one of his first remote controlled 3D printed snowmobiles.
I'd say that's 8. The body panels are really good, and I really like the look of that. But I would have hoped there be some tie rods. It's simple and it works. By the videos, it works fine.
Yeah, he has a few videos, so obviously it's working for him.
Yeah.
He's not having a monster amount of power in these things, but it's plenty sufficient to drive around and have a good time. So again, like you said, I would probably look into having a set of tie rods for this instead of wires, and maybe it could be a bit thicker on, or reinforcement maybe on the skid could be interesting. But again, if it works for him, it might be sufficient.
Yeah, and some small things like the.
That's something you can
Sorry,
sort
what?
out over time. So
Yeah, true. But
I'd probably say again, like you said, maybe 7.5 or 8 out of 10. That's a good score.
Yeah, but that
Really good
that's
job.
Really, he's done really good job on that.
Well done, RC Homemade Hobbies. All right, so let's see what else is out there. So the other guy that entered in order that in which they came in is Colin Newsham from Newham's Productions. I really like the fact that he has a farm-oriented channel. Most of his videos are farm-oriented. I watch every once in a while. So from what I can see right here, his video is quite small, but from what I can see, the front suspension, they're wider than normal. So he might have modified some parts to make it fit. So fun thing though, he seemed to have made his own gearbox over here.
Yeah, I think that looks nice. Looks like it's compact and seems to work.
Yeah, there's some similarities with my design, maybe inspired by his. Like maybe the gear looks similar, but it might be just, I don't know. Overall, he probably made his own gearbox in the end, so good job on that. I hope it holds up for him.
Yeah, gotta give him some score for doing that by himself. Yeah.
Yep. He went with a similar solution, I think. Let's see if I can find a track on there. All right, so here's the track. He's done something really similar to what we have done, which is to have windows inside of each lug has some windows. It's very similar to our design in the amount of hinges and how they're connected. You seem to have maybe a rod pushed in and just heat up the little bead at the end and fold it back to close it.
Yeah.
One thing I can say though is it could be probably interesting to have some ridges to support each lugs, because as you can see, some of them are broken. It could be also 100% infill. It could probably help with them.
Yeah, I think that track design looks on the base. It looks really like durable, but those lugs look like they're gonna have a bad time.
Yep, I agree with you. It's a good base design, but the lugs could be improved and maybe a few things here and there. But overall, it's a great track, I think.
Yeah.
Now let's go back to the skid for a moment. At first, I thought these were rivets, but I think these are screws to hold the front half and the rear half of the skid.
Yeah, I think so too, and that looks pretty durable, actually.
Yeah, it looks really thick.
Makes the exchanging of parts, well, let's say less expensive, as you have halves instead of one single beam.
Yeah, so also you can have a smaller printer to print all of these parts.
Yeah.
I think personally that his rear swing looks a little weird. Yeah, you see, it looks a little weird. I'm not sure how his suspension was working or how well it works, but maybe the angle is a little weird.
Yeah, and that looks like it's a bit on the shorter side. I think that the high beam should be shorter and the lower beam should be a little shorter too.
Well, I think he did that because his rear shock was really long, so he pushed further back his hinge point, and instead of having it there, maybe this part should be further back, or the hinge point should be forward with a smaller shock. But and with the length of tunnel he has, he could probably just extend the rear wheels even further. But it might have been a limitation with the printer size, maybe again.
Yeah.
Anyways, time will tell how his design works, because we only see a small part of what the running is like at the end of this video. The only video he has on the channel about that. So show him some love so he can make more videos.
Yeah, gonna follow that.
And props for him for using the Yamaha Viper as a base, because it was not a requirement to make the entire snowmobile, but him making that from the smaller from the toy itself brings some diversity and also makes it simpler for somebody that has little to no experience maybe with making a snowmobile. So
yeah, I agree. That's cool. He used that. And
so
nice. Yeah.
What score would you give him, or what impressions do you have with the machine so far?
I like the track, but some parts could be better. And judging by the drive video that he had there, it seems like there's gonna be some setup needed. But like every one of us, and I think 7 or 8.
Probably a 7 for me.
Yeah, 7. Yeah.
All right, so last but not least, We have
Do we have the mad
Here we go.
scientist?
who?
This guy, yeah. I
Uh,
saw this video and thought, yeah, this
yeah, I
guy
think
nailed
we, I think we both were surprised when this guy dropped the video. I'm not new to his channel. I think one of the most impressive video was this one from a couple of years ago. It was one of the
Yeah.
first video that brought me to RC Snowmobile World, or at least make your own RC Snowmobile World.
Yeah.
I really enjoyed it, and I've been subscribed for a couple of years to his channel already. But when he dropped that one, I really was not expecting him to do what he did. I mean, he's designed an entire snowmobile based on the Arctic Cat Blast. So
Yeah, that was a complete surprise. He went for a whole different hood design and so on, and I really like it.
I was not expecting him to come with something like that because there's no other printed stuff on his channel from what I can see. Like the other snowmobile he has is all metal.
He's done an amazing job. That hood and the frame and everything looks just. That's almost looks like a factory made.
Something I think interesting that he has done is that the rear section of the tunnel is made out of aluminum instead of
Oh, that's metal.
typically
Oh.
printed. Yeah, that's aluminum. And the other thing I found that's really interesting about this design is that he used a timing belt for the track instead of printing a track, which is not unheard of, but that's something I was not expecting to see. He probably has tested it because I wouldn't be surprised that, you're not doing all of that job to find out in the end if it works or not.
Yeah.
You sort of testing along the way.
I think he's on Instagram also. I follow him and I don't remember now, but I think he's also uploaded some stuff about that to there.
Something I think it is pretty interesting is that you see how thick his body panels are. I'm not sure. Well, they're probably not 100% infill, but it looks very thick all around the corners. So it's probably very durable. And depending on how much infill he has, it could be either really strong and heavy or lightweight and still durable. I mean, he has done a good job with the body panel, and it seems
Yeah.
really seamless.
Yeah, and I was surprised that when I saw that on the video that he printed all them on the smaller Prusa Mini, which was a real really surprising. He did all this with a 14 centimeter print plate.
Probably
Special.
something like that. Yeah, it's not that big. And the other surprising thing is that he has a pulley and belt system for the transmission.
Oh,
And something I realized about this is that he uses a square shaft, which is very similar to what I've used in the G4. Because if you have a hex shaft, there's more chance of it slipping because it's more round than a square shaft.
yeah. I
So
should
using a
also-
square, so using a square shaft was definitely the way to go.
I have to agree. I should use that also, and seems like it. The square shaft also fits on the 608 RS bearing. I think that's what he's using on right there.
Yeah, I mean, I'm using the same bearings and axles, and I'm pretty sure that's 608 as well. Very easy to get by.
Yeah.
But the thing is that there's no pulley and belt, so I'm not quite sure how he's driving. I'm assuming he might be printing a gear. If you have a belt and pulley system and the gear melts, you can use a clear coat and just go with a clear coat, just a thin one, over the gear, and that's preventing the rest of the plastic of melt. So if you want to attempt something like that, that could be something interesting to try with this. And I like the overall geometry looks good. Maybe missing a limiter strap at the front. Again, it helps prevent bending and having issues. Because he has a big window here.
True.
Maybe an anti-stab kit could be interesting here.
Anti-stab, yeah. Anti-stabbers could do some good.
Because he has some big windows, and it seems like it's hard to tell from the video, but it could be a problem if you hit something like a rock. It could slip on and, damage stuff.
Yeah. True.
So, yeah, what's your overall impression of that snowmobile?
I think this is the winner. Clear. Hands down.
I would like to know more on how it was designed and stuff like that, but from what we can see, it seems like he's done a really good job. I'm curious to see what he has to offer next. I think we'll be calling it a wrap for today because that's everything that there was until today. As of
Yeah.
today, that's all the things there is about alphas. So thanks for everybody for coming and participating in this little challenge I had. I really wanted to see what you guys can come up with, and you really impressed me.
Yeah, I think it's really impressive what people did in that time limit, and that's really, really, really surprising how many people did this.
Yeah.
Uh,
We decided that everybody that participated is gonna have our files for free, since we would like to thank you for participating.
I want to thank Miko for the interview. It was a really nice first discussion we had together because we only talk with text messages. It was the first time I was actually talking to him in person. So thanks for the good time we had together. It's really nice to talk with people every once in a while. So if you have some question about availability, I'm just going to be answering most of the question in the description. So please have a look there before you ask in the comments. I'm going to try to squeeze a little clip of that thing working outside in the snow for you. And thanks for watching, everybody. I hope you had a wonderful holiday season, and I'll catch you next time for the Decagon project. Yeah, that's coming. So thanks for watching. Have a good day.
It's time to test the alpha, see what it can do, what the problems are, and stuff like that. So I guess we don't have a lot of time before Christmas deadline is on, but at least if the frame is working and we have the body panels ready to install, shouldn't be too difficult to make it all work. As long as the frame works and nothing breaks, that's a pretty big success in my opinion. So let's see what it can do. Nice. So here we go.